let's talk about this whole Eboni K. Williams fiasco, this controversy that's been all over social media the last few days. By the way, do you guys like this shirt? I think it's my first time wearing it in a video. It's giving early 2000s Enrique Iglesias music video slash Dances with Wolves. So Eboni K. Williams, to give you a little recap, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, Eboni K. Williams is this commentator, media personality. She did one season of The Real Housewives of New York City a few years back. Super educated woman. I want to say she has like 3 or 4 degrees, like higher education degrees, something like that. Lawyer by trade, but again, turned media personality. I think she also has like an MBA. Very, very educated in terms of schooling. Super smart. When she speaks, she kind of speaks like a politician. Like, not only is she, it's one thing to be eloquent, but she's super charismatic. Like, she was meant to be a media personality slash lawyer slash, like, I could just see her excelling in politics. But anyway, she was doing an interview or podcast or whatever with Iyanla from Iyanla Fix My Life, if you guys are familiar with her. And Iyanla at one point was like, would you date a bus driver? And Eboni K. Williams sort of sarcastically or in a sassy way was like, I'll date the guy who owns the bus, but I'm not, or owns a few buses, but I'm not dating a guy who drives a bus. Iyanla responded to her saying like, that's the problem. Like, that's the problem with our society, that women are so judgy and like selective about things like career path, but this is why so many women are alone, because they're valuing the wrong things. Like, the bus driver could have your same values, could want to build a family and be the right partner for that, but we're busy here like judging people's income and career paths or whatever. And Eboni K. Williams disagreed. She's gotten so much backlash from people on social media. And today I saw this clip of her on The Breakfast Club, which is another, it was a radio show. I guess now it's like a podcast slash YouTube channel. But they were roasting her. One of the hosts, this guy named DJ Envy, was going in on her. And I was like, I need to make a video about this, because it's actually very relevant to a lot of the themes that I feel like we've discussed on my YouTube channel when it comes to dating preferences and like your guidelines for dating, right? I feel like everybody has their things. Everybody looks for different things, whether we're talking about physical qualities, emotional, mental, like intellectual qualities. I understood what Iyanla was trying to say to her, like I got the point, but I'm on Eboni's side with this, because I don't like when people try to micromanage who you should date. Like, why do people feel like they have the authority to tell people who they can and cannot date, who they should and should not date? Is ageism, sexism, racism, all the isms, is that sometimes involved in people's dating choices? Sure. But also sometimes people have logical reasons for why they want what they want. And whether it's logical or not, whether it's logical or purely emotional or rooted in some kind of systemic thing, you can't force somebody to date, partner with, get married, have kids with somebody they don't want to do that with. In Eboni's case, right, as I said, she's this super educated woman and she's super ambitious, and you can tell just from the way she carries herself, her career trajectory. So I totally get why for her immediate thought was like, bus driver, like what am I gonna have in common with a bus driver when that career path, like it's not an intellectually stimulating job, right? It's a necessary job in society, but that's one of those jobs, and there's many of these jobs out there. You don't have to be a bus driver, or even, I hate this term, but working class to have this kind of job, but it's consistent with the kinds of jobs out there where you can do the same thing for like 20 years or more, for decades, and there's no growth beyond that. Like, maybe you get a salary bump, I don't know how that works, or tenure or whatever, but I feel that same way about like being a high school teacher or being a nurse. Essential, absolutely essential roles in society, but they're not growth-oriented roles where you're constantly learning new things. Well, maybe the nursing thing is different because there's new technologies and new medical practices, but in general, right, there are many, many jobs out there where you're doing repetitive things on a daily basis. And for somebody like Eboni K. Williams, who's clearly super, super ambitious, and I get that, she seems like a growth-oriented person, you would want to attract a partner who's on the same path. Could a bus driver have the exact same values as her, want the same things as her, be good to her, treat her well, all those things? Of course. She could also find that in somebody who's more similar in terms of education, career path, and so on. That's her choice. No matter what you think about this, that is her choice. To me, it seems like people who are upset about this kind of thing are projecting. Like that Breakfast Club interview the guy was like, I thought it was like borderline disrespectful because she's a guest on the show and he's grilling her and you could hear that he was offended. His point was a little bit more nuanced in that he was saying Eboni K. Williams is a hypocrite because a whole part of her like brand as a commentator and as a media personality is about uplifting Black Americans and trying to find equity for Black Americans in society. And so he was saying like it's hypocritical that then in the same breath you're saying like, oh well, I'm too above dating a bus driver, which is he was saying like that's the exact community she's trying to uplift. And her whole point, which again I agree with, was it's not mutually exclusive, right? Like you could want better for a community, for your own community, and still be really selective when it comes to dating. And my whole thing is I can be friends with anybody, I can work with anybody, I can greet anybody on the street, but dating, to me, I am incredibly like judgy, selective, critical, whatever word you want to use when it comes to that, as it seems Eboni K. Williams is, because there's only room for one person there for me. Meaning, I'm not looking for an open relationship. I'm not interested in a polyamorous relationship. So if there's only one person who can fit the bill, you're going to be more selective. And also this boils down to what you're looking for, right? Like some people just want someone to come home to. Some people want someone to have sex with consistently that they can feel safe with. Some people want a partner. Some people want to build something, a family, let's say, or a business with somebody. Whatever the case is, like, we all have different things we look for in partnership. So we're all going to care about different things. For me, and maybe this is because I'm a guy, maybe it's because I'm a gay guy, I can do just fine on my own. I've been on my own forever. So for me, the idea of dating is, I do take it seriously because I'm not just looking for somebody to have a fling with or to have sex with, or like, I would want somebody who can inspire me, somebody who can help me grow. I would only want to be with somebody to build off of what I currently have. Like, I wouldn't want to attract somebody, for example, to complete me or to complete them. And actually a long time ago, when I lived in LA, I met a guy who on paper was perfect. He was a doctor, super intelligent, super good looking, thoughtful, check, all these things. But he had this like sadness to him and this energy that was just such a turn off to me because I could tell that he was not happy in life and that he was desperately looking for someone to complete him. Like he thought that was the only missing piece of his life and that would solve all his issues and his sadness. I could sense it. I could see it in his eyes, in the way that he would kind of have a pity party energy. So even though on paper he was perfect, to the average person, certainly to me in terms of the things that I look for in someone, I didn't want to date him because it turned me off to that extent. So again, we all look for different things and I feel like that's okay. And I also think this mindset of projecting onto people like your complexes of like, how dare you not date a guy who's XYZ or a woman who's XYZ, that kind of shaming, I think, is why so many people end up dating, getting married to people they should not be with, and they go into relationships. Have you ever seen those people talk? People talk about getting divorced and they'll say like, I really knew from the beginning, like I remember getting married thinking like this is not the right move. I feel like that public shaming that comes from family members, that comes from peers, that comes from social media, I feel like that pressure is how so many people end up being in partnerships with the wrong people. Nobody can tell you what's right for you. They can try, but nobody knows really what's right for you. So I say all that to say, I agree completely with Eboni K. Williams. I think people should be more selective about who they date and who they decide to build a family with, build relationships with. I do think there are exceptions to every rule. For example, I would 100% date somebody in a working class role if I could tell they were on a step towards something else, meaning they're in grad school, they're paying for medical school by doing this, because I've been there. Like, I have been poor, I have been wealthy. There was a time where I was self-employed, breaking even, but I was the same person that I am now. I had the same value system, the same qualities, the same intellect. So to me, all this becomes palpable when you meet somebody, right? And you can feel whether you're on the same wavelength. She was making a general statement in jest to try to be funny, but people got really upset about it. And I respect her for her honesty. I think so many people pretend like, oh, I just want love, I just want this. But love is such a abstract concept, and it's a romantic concept. But what she was trying to, I think maybe poorly she said it, but what she was trying to indicate really is there's practical sort of reasoning that comes into who you want to date and who you want to be partnered to. I'm a big proponent of like meeting your equal and being on the same wavelength as somebody. What do you guys think about this?